Hi crafty friends, it's Heather Rui here, and today's video is all about stretching the use of coordinating dies and creating stamps with them. So let's jump right in. This is the stamp set and coordinating dies that we'll be using. It's a new stamp set from Hero Arts and it's called Tropical Fishes. I also wanted to mention these magnetic sheets from Hero Arts. I just started using them to store all of my coordinating dies and they are fantastic. They hold the dies in place really well and they fit nicely in the back of a stamp pocket. Okay, back to the card. So to create stamps from coordinating dies, you will need some craft fun foam. I cut the dies from this and it die cuts beautifully. Next, I laid the die cut shape on an A2 panel of Deluxe smooth white cardstock. I added some temporary tape to the back and picked it up with the door of my Misty. I inked up the first fun foam shape with Tangerine ink and stamped it. Depending on the thickness of your fun foam, you may need to place a piece of cardstock or two under your panel to achieve the right pressure for stamping. My first image was not stamping well until I put another piece of cardstock underneath. I also wanted to mention that I like to do multiple panels at a time when I do projects like this or something like layering stencils. Not only do I like to have multiple cards done at once, since all of my supplies are already out, but I like to have another piece stamped just in case I mess up along the way. I am doing one image at a time, so this way if I make a mistake, I can correct it on the second panel instead of starting over from the beginning. The fun foam stamps are also very easy to clean. I just use a baby wipe to remove any ink. I like to save the pieces and keep them with my stamp set since they are reusable. Keep in mind, I'm using coordinating dies for today's card, but this technique works really well with any dies you have on hand. Okay, now that I have all the images stamped on the panel, I'm going to cut those same dies from masking paper. I want to create a mask to place on top of the stamping so it protects the images when I stamp on top. I'm using this Bubble Celebrating Background stamp with mist ink. When you're using a cling stamp, make sure to remove the black piece from your Misty. I stamped the image a few times to get a darker shade of ink. Next, I remove the mask and place the piece in the Misty. I lined up the coordinating stamps in place. To make sure they're in the right spot, I like to place a piece of clear packaging on top and stamp before stamping on the actual piece. This way I can correct any alignment issues. One of the fish images were not lined up correctly, so I was able to remove it, stamp it on packaging again, make sure I like it, and then stamped it on the final piece. Now it's time to add the sentiment. I chose the You're Fantastic sentiment from the stamp set and stamped it using black ink on the same white cardstock. I cut a few more to stack behind the stamped sentiment for dimension, but I felt like it didn't stand out enough against the background. So I decided to white heat emboss the sentiment on pitch black cardstock, and I like that look much better. I adhered it right on top of the white sentiment with precision glue. I adhered it down to the stamp panel and decided to add some of these clear enamel dots to finish off the card. I thought these make the perfect bubbles. These enamel dots already have adhesive on them, but I like to add a bit of this clear lacquer pen behind each one to make sure they hold up in the mail. I finished off the design by rounding all four corners of the card. I decided to use the same technique to decorate the flap of the envelope. I'm a big fan of creating a matching envelope to tie everything together and give the recipient a sneak peek of what's coming on the card inside. I reused the same foam image that I used on the card to stamp the yellow fish on the flap and then went back in to stamp the image on top. I used that clear packaging piece again to make sure it was aligned correctly. I hope this has inspired you to create stamps using your coordinating dies. Thank you so much for watching and spending some time here today.